welcome to Dateline New Haven on WNHH-FM. I'm Paul Bass, inviting you to look behind the headlines and the stories that make New Haven tick. We have two of New Haven's finest in the studio today who are out looking for you, but you're not in trouble. They're not looking out to arrest you. They're looking for New Haven people to replenish the New Haven police force and take policing into the new age. We say good morning to Sergeant Paul Finch and Officer Yelena Borisova.
Good morning.
And thank you for coming in Dateline New Haven to tell us about the new recruiting drive for the NHPD. So now if I have your job straight, you're technically, Paul, in charge of the outreach for the drive and you're coordinating it?
Yes, I supervise the recruitment and background investigations unit for the police department.
So you oversee it?
Yes.
And Yelena, and do I say your first name right?
Yes.
Okay. Do you do full-time background investigations?
Correct.
But you also are often the public face. As I said, every time we have a reporter out, you're the person kind of giving the love about like how you love the job and why you come. So you're not just a background investigator, you participate in outreach?
Yes. I'm a background investigator and a recruiter.
Okay. So where are we up to now? Or how many officers are we looking for and what stage are we in this?
So we currently have 83 vacancies.
80 vacancies?
83.
83.
83 to be exact vacancies.
Out of how many? And I'm going to ask both of you to get so close to that mic, you're almost touching it. So you have 80. There are 80. So are you looking for 83 officers, or are you looking for a certain number for the next class?
We have a continuous recruitment going on right now, so it's as many as we can get every cycle when we're doing a recruitment drive. So it's we know we're not going to get 83 all in 1 year, so just continue as we go on to just try to increase the staffing. Okay,
and I think Harry's going to move your mic a little because when you look toward me, we lose the sound, but it's all good. So does that mean you get as many people as you can to get in a pipeline, and then you decide on how many people are in a class based on how many people make it through, Yelena, and other, like checking them out?
Yes, that's
correct.
Well,
first they have to take a test, right? You apply, you have to take a test, right?
Well, yeah, the first test is the physical agility test. You take that through the CHIP test.
What's CHIP?
CHIP is the organization or the test itself that it's a physical agility test.
And what kind of shape do you need to be in? Do you need to be a track runner like you, or can you be just someone who like doesn't have a heart attack if you run down the block?
So the test isn't a show up and pass. You got to put in the work. You got to actually train for it. You got to run 1.5 miles. You got to run a 300-meter sprint, and then you have to do a series of push-ups and sit-ups in a minute. So I like to say that you definitely got to actually show up and actually train for this. Some people like to think that they can show up and pass just based upon going to the gym. And, if you have some experience with track and field, that definitely does help.
Well, I noticed a lot of officers, were you both athletes? Were you an athlete in your earlier time? I noticed a lot of officers were kind of like jocks or just athletes in the early days, no?
Not really an athlete, but I used to run a lot.
Mm-hmm.
So running was
helps,
never
right?
a problem for me.
You need to be in good shape to be a cop, right?
Yes. Oh, definitely.
And then how do you keep that up? Because, I mean, all human beings, we kind of get like our tires around our waist as we get a little older. We're not like, we don't have the same metabolism we used to have. I love talking to officers who go back for like mid-career training, like at Perf or something. And they say one of the biggest challenges is like, I got to be in shape again. Like I got to run really hard again in these long miles. How do you, when you get them in the front door to be in shape, is there any way of knowing how you're going to keep officers in shape?
I'd like to think that that's on the individual. You got to have that work-life balance, and you have to kind of prioritize your health and your wellness. I just turned 40 this year. And
that's a biggie for in terms of how that.
And I said to myself, okay, I got work to do. I have goals, physically. So especially, doing the recruiting, and we do weekly training sessions. And
oh, you do?
Yes. Free training sessions every Sunday at 4 p.m. and every Wednesday at 6 p.m. at Bowen Field.
Mm-hmm.
So I try to go to them and actually, work out and train with the actual applicants.
So what you're helping the applicants get ready, but you're also keeping Paul in shape.
Exactly. And, so my goal is just to be able to pass the same test that I had to take to be able to apply.
It's like driving. I can never pass the driving test again. Yeah. But the other thing I noticed, too, like I was remembering, some of the more experienced officers, what you might lose a little bit in your step, you might gain in your experience. Like I'm thinking Paul Bickey. He was this wonderful beat officer. I remember him told me the end of his career, he'd be with the younger people, and they'd always like run through the spot and get there before him. But they'd also sometimes look to him on like how to deal with a difficult situation, what a person might do. And I remember he crawled through some window that was going to be really hard. He said, "Could I still do that?" And he stopped a rape. I mean, that was sad. You have a little kid, but he was saying how you're always juggling that as you get older. How we need both on the force. We need the young people who are just on fire, chariots of fire, along with some people who have been on the beat a long time. I don't know. But anyway, so we're talking about the New Haven Police Department out recruiting. What stage are we at now in the recruiting drive? You talked about cycles.
We're in the application stage. So with us having continuous recruitment, you can apply at any time. And then you take that chip test, pass the chip test, and then you can move on to the written and oral phase. That's where you'll see cycles. So you'll see we have a written exam and an oral exam coming up this month.
Mm-hmm.
So if you have a chip test, a valid chip test card,
Which is good for 6 months.
yes.
Okay.
Yes, it is good for 6 months. If you have a valid card, then
For 6 months to get to the next phase of the whole process of becoming a cop.
The chip card is good for 6 months. So if somebody takes a chip test, say today, so that chip test is good until for the next 6 months.
And what has to
So you-
happen in those 6 months unless you'd have to take it again? Do you have to go through all the approval processes? Do you have to be sworn in? Do you have to be in the academy?
So that test is only valid when you first apply. If you make it through the entire process, 30 days before the academy start, you have to take another test, but it's not a chip test. You have to take it for that agency that you're hired for. So you would be New Haven Police Academy would be actually administering that test.
Gotcha. So what we're going to do is we're talking to Elena Borisova and Paul Finch from the New Haven Police Department about their recruiting drive. And one way they're getting the message out, because they're trying, what they've learned over the years, I've noticed, is they use a lot of ways to try to meet people. You might see Elena at Wilbercross High School at a fair, or you might be seeing a video. So Harry Drost, our station manager, is going to play us the newest video that I believe Captain Rosedell put together.
yes, our recruitment team.
How many people are on that team?
It's four of us that actually are out there physically recruiting, but then we have
Including you two.
Yes, but then we have photographers that work within the police department that are
Martin Putside, is that his name?
Yes,
He's a great photographer.
Yes, he does some good work.
Yeah.
And we have Jeremy Cordero. He helps us.
Oh,
out
that's
as well.
right.
Yes,
Yeah.
they both are excellent when it comes to getting photos for us. And then we have Raymond Torres too. He actually helps us with photos as well.
So you're trying to do a publicity campaign to show people who cops are and to try to get them interested. So if Harry Drost, I think he said he was going to tee up the video so we can watch it to see how you're trying to get the message out that way, I guess, through social media.
It's always been a dream of
Social
mine.
media
I
is
worked
huge.
with kids before this.
Big
I work for the
component
ambulance
comes to
company.
I can play a
Spreading
big
out
part in
awareness.
keeping my city safe.
I'm trying to change
Here
the
it is.
narrative.
I wanted to try to help regain that faith in the community.
One thing that really drew me to
So I'm not
city
hearing
New
the sound,
Haven
though, Harry.
was just the size.
There's
Is
just
the
tons of
audio
opportunities
on
here in New
the,
Haven.
video?
Hard work and dedication. The sky's the limit. The academy
Sorry
experience has
about
been
that.
challenging,
Because,
but
I know that I watched that. There
we
was
have
something
great
said here.
instructors. Learned a lot of things: how to be proactive police officers, how to be community police, be compassionate, all different ranges of techniques to serve the community we're working in.
All that education, all that we learn has to be implemented when you go out there on the street. They are making sure that they're giving you the best.
It helped discipline me and it helped mold me into a good police officer.
It definitely challenges you mentally, but you have to persevere. Just keep pushing.
It's exactly like having a military experience all over again.
We learned to work like a unit. We marched together as one.
It's been really challenging. There's days where you're getting crushed with PT, but it's still fun. Everyone's in the same boat as you.
My favorite part of the academy is DT.
Learning the law.
Being able to PT with a couple guys who are on the SWAT team, it brought me back to a better time when I was in peak shape in my life.
The gun range, I never shot a gun before, so I learned how to do it and how to do it safely as well.
As you can see, it's a lot of hard work, a lot of dedication.
Here at the academy, we work as a team.
Right,
where we
I
all
remember
help
they were
each other
talking about
out.
learning how to
We
shoot a
become
gun,
really
yeah.
close
Yeah.
together.
The academy for me is a family.
Safely.
We're all here from
Some
different
is the
walks of
first
life.
time
I'm
you've
here
ever
together to meet a
actually
common
shot a
goal,
weapon,
and that's to
so
become police officers.
It's a great
Police
place to
career
actually
is very
learn how
rewarding.
to,
If
do
you
it.
want to make a change, be the
and
change
then,
you want to
you have a
become.
group of people that
Change will not come from the
all
middle or
walks
from
of
the
life.
top. It will come from the roots,
Come
and I
together
think
and
cops
forge
have
one-
access to the roots
one
of
team.
society.
Accomplishing this.
one goal. It's a great
It's always been a dream of mine.
I worked with
Hopefully
kids
it
before
just,
this.
I
helps.
work for the ambulance company.
I can
know,
play a
someone-
big part in keeping my city safe.
I'm trying to change the narrative.
I wanted to try to help regain
Help them.
that faith in the community.
Just
One thing that
And
really
I
drew me
noticed
to the
also
city
that
of
like
New
you
Haven
tried to
was
recruit
just
more
the size
officers
There's
of
tons
color. You've had a
opportunities here in New
success
Haven
in
with
that.
hard work and
When I watch
dedication
this
to
video, I
Scotland.
feel like
The academy
95% of the
experience has
cops are
been
black and
challenging,
Hispanic.
but
That's not
rewarding
true,
at the
right?
same
You're trying to
time.
get the
We have
message
great
out that you're
instructors,
including
learn a
them
lot of
too.
things, how to be
Right,
proactive
yeah.
police
Some
officers,
of
how to be community police,
people that
be
you see that
compassionate, all different ranges of techniques to serve the community we're working in.
All that education, all that we learn
It's
has
great
to
when
be
you see people
implemented
that
when you
grew
go
up
out
in
there
New
on the
Haven.
street. They are making
Police
sure that
officers.
they're giving you the best.
It helped discipline me and it helped mold me into a good police officer.
It definitely challenges
And so,
you
right, so at
mentally,
first I brought up
but
the
you have to
racial issue, but there was
persevere.
also that
Just keep
city
pushing.
issue. People kind of feel
It's
like
exactly like
they
having
want
a
officers who
military
live in New
experience
Haven
all over
policing
again.
them, which I
We
think
learn
can
to
be
work like a
overstated
unit, we work
sometimes.
together
Because
as
sometimes
one.
the
It's been
officers who
really
build the
challenging
best
these days where
relationships
you're
with
getting
people on the
crushed
beat
with
actually
PT,
don't live
but, you know,
here.
it's still
And
fun,
some of
you
the
know,
officers who
everyone's
get in
in the same
trouble
boat
do
as you.
live here.
My favorite part of
But
the
I think,
academy is
might it be
PT.
true that
Learning
that
the
is a
law.
leg
Being
up
able to
if you know
PT
the
with a
streets? I've
couple
interviewed
guys
some of the
who are on
younger
SWAT team,
officers
it brought
recently
me
because
back
they
to a
grew up
better
there kind
time
of
when
knew
I
the
was in
people they were
peak shape in my
policing.
life.
The gun range, I never shot a gun before, so I learned how to do
Well,
it.
what do you
and how
think,
to do it
Dylan? When you
safely
do the
as well.
background checks, do you notice any difference with New Haveners and not New
Here
Haveners?
at the academy, we work as a team. We all help each
I'd
other
like to
out.
say
We've become
it's
really
all up
close
to
together.
an individual.
for me is a
Your
family. We're all
individual
here from
values,
different walks
your
of life, coming here
individual
together to
morals.
meet a common goal,
Just
and that's to
because
become police officers.
I came all the way from Russia.
Well, you weren't. I thought you were one of the SSRs.
Belarus.
Yeah. Oh my God, you must.
Change
What's
will
that
not
for you
come
now?
from
To
the
see
middle
what's
or
going on
from
in
the top.
Belarus?
It will come from the roots.
I
And
try
think
not
cops
to
have
watch, to be
access
honest
to the
with you.
roots of society.
It's just
Accomplishing
upsetting.
this goal,
Do you still have family there?
understanding like
Most
where
of
I
my
come from,
family
they would
is
see
here.
like a person from the community can be a police
Close
officer.
family.
We can
Right,
do
I
it.
took you off there.
Only
So
if
you
you
came
try.
from Belarus
To be able
to this
protect the
area, but
city
you
that I'm
felt like
from,
you became
to
part of New
help
Haven
and
pretty
serve the
quick.
people that live
Absolutely.
in New Haven. It's a big
I actually lived in
responsibility.
New Haven
and I'm
before I
ready to
got
step
in the
up to that
force.
Oh, you did,
responsibility.
okay.
All these skills, all the things that we're
So,
learning, you know, a lot of
talking
them are
about
things that we hope we
recruitment
never
drive.
have
I'm
to
sorry
do.
we couldn't
We
hear
also
the
know that
audio on
these
the
are the
video,
type
but
of
you got a
skills
picture. What you're doing.
that
So
are
how
gonna
do you
help
get
keep
this
the
video
city
out?
safe,
Do you
keep
send
the
it to
people in New
people
Haven
on
safe.
At the
Instagram?
heart of everything
Yes,
we're
it's on
learning here is
Instagram.
being more involved in the
And it's on our
community.
Facebook page. It's actually
For anyone
on
who's
the city
considering
website,
becoming a
and
police
it's on the
officer,
police
just
app
know
website.
that you
And I
guys
noticed
work
your
hard,
your
be smart,
Facebook
get to be
page
part
is
of
getting a
family
lot of
that
hits.
takes you in with
Yes.
welcome arms.
And that
There's
happened
plenty
in
of
the
ways to
last year.
grow.
Yes.
Great
So
challenge.
we,
Keep going, keep pushing
we
through, never
developed a
give up.
social media
There's no
team
better
at
feeling
the
than to make a
police
difference from where
department,
you're from.
and,
There's no
they all have
bond
been
like a
working
police
very
bond with
hard
their
to
community.
try to
It's noble
increase
and legacy.
I'm very
the
proud to
message,
be a New
get
Haven police
everything
officer.
out.
I'm so excited to
Because we
join
know
the New
that's
Haven
the,
Police
the
Force.
new
If you're
age.
thinking about it, come on.
But isn't that a
join us.
conundrum
The New
too?
Haven
So on the
Police
one hand,
Department is
you
a
can't not do
multicultural
social media
department.
because that's how we're
Benvenuto,
communicating.
bienvenue,
But
welcome,
social media really
marhaba.
removes
Please
people from each
come
other. They
join
don't
us.
look into each other's eyes. You don't really get a measure of someone. Like I'll bet when you're at Wilbur Cross and talking to a young person, that would have 80 times the impact of a social media video. Would you agree? I mean, I understand the answer is you have to do everything, but you also do make sure you're doing in-person stuff, right?
Absolutely.
So what kind of in-person recruiting, where do you go?
This past weekend we were at the Gospel Fest.
Oh.
We had a national night out. We do career fairs at all the area universities and colleges. So that's been great as well. So that way
So how do you make the pitch? Let's say I walk up to you, I'm 21 years old. We've actually had some articles on this. And I say, you know, I'm not sure what I want to do. I was flipping hamburgers. That wasn't great. I've kind of liked architectural drawing or something. Why would I want to be a cop? What do you tell them?
Sergeant Finch is great at that.
Well, the biggest thing I
You're
tell
good
them
too.
is, have an impact on the community and have an impact on people's lives on a day-to-day basis. That's the biggest thing. And you make good money. It's not a career where you have to work your whole entire life. And you have just the great opportunities within the job to where it can be exciting. Different opportunities where you can move up in the ranks.
Like if I were 20 and if I theoretically could pass a agility test if I ever could, you probably could have appealed to me with the investigative part. I know there's certain recruits I talk to who are so interested about how you compile evidence. And it's similarly that at the Bureau of Investigation. Some people, because when I've talked to people, why'd you apply in New Haven? They talk about you do so many different kinds of cases. Some people talk about the community policing tradition we have, but other people talk about it's like really interesting. Like as a reporter, I'm just so interested. If I had the kind of tools you did to be able to really look into people's financial records and try to like solve a clue that's going to keep somebody safe because you have to file that. That's kind of fun and exciting, right?
Oh yeah.
For other people, is it sort of like the thrill, which can sometimes have a downside to fast action, that kind of thing, like a crime?
Yeah, it's a mixture of both. And you have to remember what you see on TV. People think, oh, I want to be a detective.
Well, it's actually many hours of very boring
Yeah,
work.
well, not
like,
only
like
that-
a reporter, you're going through records and things.
Yeah, not only that, you got to be an officer first. So that's the one thing you have to express to people too. Is it's like it's great that you want to be a detective, but the first step is being a patrol officer, and that's how you really learn the job. You learn, investigations through being a patrol officer first. Then you can, after 4 years, you can take a test.
And then other people change their mind, right? I've heard people say I really like walking, because everyone has to walk a beat at the beginning. I really liked getting to know people in the neighborhood and things like that. Do you ever tell them any personal stories about when you were an officer on the beat and why it mattered to you?
Sure.
Like, what's a story you might tell them?
I had a story with a Valentine's Day story where, it was just a couple that called the police, and it was Valentine's Day, and you realize when you get on the job and you're 25 years old that you sometimes walk into homes where you actually have to make decisions for people that could be your parents just by age-wise. So Valentine's Day, a couple just need a little bit of counseling, from the New Haven.
They're
Police
having a fight.
Department.
Someone called the police.
Yeah. So, what we did was we just had them exchange Valentine's Day gifts with us being there, and that changed the whole mood of the evening.
Well, how did you do? What'd you see? Like, what did you say to them?
Oh, I just, obviously you got to figure out what's going on and why they're arguing, what's their disagreement. And then once you kind of speak to both sides and figure out what happened, then you're saying, okay, well, let's slow things down and see what's really important, what's needed to change. So I asked the female, did you get, him a gift? He said yes. I asked him, did you get her a gift?
Oh, that's a great idea.
And then he said, yeah, I did. I said, okay, well, here's 2 chairs. Let's sit right here and just give each other the gifts.
Wow, so you're like a counselor.
Well, that's the beauty of this job. The beauty of this job is there's no right or there's no one way to do it, So here it is. If they're able to, sit there, exchange gifts, it changes the whole mood situation.
That makes me think about the way we see each other when we're living our lives. We get so caught up in an argument or something we want to have happen that we forget why we value another person. So there they had those gifts waiting. So they were so focused on arguing when there was a reason they got each other a gift, right? They loved each other, right?
Yeah, and my partner's looking at me like, what are you doing? But I'm like, hey,
It worked.
It worked. It literally worked. You know what I mean? So that was my way of handling that situation, and that's the beauty of being a police officer. Everybody's different.
Now, one challenge now is the departments across the country, and I haven't had any indication it's any worse here or anywhere else, having trouble finding officers. That it's just a lot of forces have been depleted. They're short-staffed. We're short-staffed. There are a whole lot of reasons, right? After the George Floyd incident, people were kind of, obviously raising some legitimate criticisms about police, but also some police felt they were under attack, but other people felt like it wasn't safe. Have you watched this over the years? What has been the increased challenge
It's always been a dream of mine.
to getting people to apply? What's made it harder, and how do you address that? Any thoughts?
It's just become more competitive because it's not just the big cities that are hurting with staffing levels. It's the small towns too.
Oh, in other words, so they can offer more money to go a place where it's not as dangerous to be a cop. Like, I know you've had a lot of promising young officers stolen by Norwalk was also a city, but Hamden, and I know that even you have a former official who's up in Waterford bringing people there where nothing ever happens, right? But then do you often end up with the people who are more interested in cities that do want to be busy and do want to take on bigger challenges? Could that be like a blessing?
Oh, absolutely. And that's why you see a lot of people stay, because they love New Haven, they love the department, they love all the.
Like, I remember one officer wrote on social media, like, I can't believe they're disciplining officers. You guys suck. I just went down to Alabama where I got sworn in. I looked up their police department. I kind of said, it might not have been horrible that we lost that officer. It's like, it's kind of good we got the person who stayed, and I loved like having them exchange Valentine's Day gifts. I don't know. I guess each department's different, right?
Yes, that is true.
So we're talking about police recruiting drive. It's in full swing in New Haven. There are 83 vacancies, and we're talking to Sergeant Paul Finch and Officer Elena Versova. So, Elena, when you do background checks, what are you looking for, and how often do you have to say this person can't be a cop?
So, I think one of the main things we're looking for is integrity. Integrity, honesty in the process. We all made mistakes. We're not looking for perfect people. They don't exist. But we're looking for somebody who can come in, when they come in for interview, the interview is pretty invasive, right? We go over a lot of personal stuff, and we always say we can work with your previous conduct, with your past conduct, but we can't work with your lack of integrity. Okay.
So it's be
if somebody-
straight when it happened. We figure out how to
Yes.
deal it. And a
Somebody-
big thing for that for years is marijuana. Right now you have a new policy. It's okay if you smoke pot or continue to smoke pot. But like for years, people lied about it a lot, right? Because everybody kind of smoked pot, but they couldn't be a cop if they did. So they kind of lied about it, right?
Well, every department has some kind of drug policy. We still have a drug policy, drug guidelines, but it's more lenient now than it was before.
What are the guidelines? Like, can you have smoked pot but not crack or something like that?
So as long as you, once somebody gets a conditional job offer, there is a waiver that they sign that moving on in the process. Once you accept the conditional job offer, you can smoke weed. But there is other things. So cocaine, heroin, PCP, drugs like that. Everything is kind of case by case scenario.
So there's not one rule about if you ever abused hard drugs.
No, you got to have a lot of time and distance when it comes to.
So if like you had a
talking
bad
about
turn in
hard
your
drug.
life when you were young, but now you're 5-8 years older and you've had a good life, you're going to make it.
Like if
unless you lie about it.
If you experimented with something when you were, say, 18 years old or 21 years old, and now
You get closer, yeah.
and now you're 30 years old, then we see the level of maturity, your growth, you kind of made better decisions. So we take all that into consideration when it comes to.
So now you guys are pretty good, right? You have a lot of experience where you can, if someone's not telling you the truth, you can see their records, right? You're going to be able to see their court records and things like that, correct?
Yes.
And then do you also go out and knock on doors and interview people who know them?
Yes, we usually, so during the home visit, we interview neighbors, we interview character references, spouses, former spouses.
I've read some of those.
Employment
Yeah,
checks.
yeah.
I will speak with former employers and present employers, co-workers.
And is it my imagination, but people lie more than you think? How often do people lie?
Not everybody, but
Not
a lot
everybody's
of,
kind of a small group.
I mean, people don't realize sometimes what they're walking into, So they want to look their best, but part of your looking your best is being honest.
Right.
being honest and taking responsibility. That's really
Right.
what we're looking for.
And so you then write a report and you say, here's what I found out.
Mm-hmm.
But it's actually up to the Board of Police Commissioner whether to take what you found. You give a recommendation, correct? But then they decide whether to make an offer to someone, correct?
Correct.
Okay, so that's how the process works. And the Board of Police Commissioner makes an offer or doesn't make an offer.
Well, they decide whether to remove somebody from the process or to move them forward.
And then they go on a list where they rank on a score, right, on the civil service test or on all the tests. And then you go down the list and picking who could fill the academy slots. And is that how it works?
Yeah.
And the list stays for 3 years or something?
So the civil service list comes out after the written and oral exam. So it's kind of in the beginning before the
Okay.
background phase. And then once we receive that civil service list, that's when background investigations begin. Then we do the background investigations, and if there's any red flags in their background, then where they may have to go up for removal to the commissioners, and then the commissioners have the final say so on whether or not a person is removed or they just move forward in the process. And then eventually they'll be voted to be hired.
And then they go to the police academy for 9 months, is it?
6.
6 months. And then they are in field training, which means they go around with an experienced officer for how many months? 3?
12 weeks.
12 weeks. Okay. And then they're an officer of their own. So that's how the process works. What do you folks remember from when you went through the process that might inform how it's been different now or what you learned from it? What do you remember about going, like, what was it, 12 years ago when you were
14.
14? So what's different now?
I think we're a little more forgiving, and we give more chances.
Is it also true you're better at finding out information? I mean, the tech has improved, correct?
Sure. We find a lot on social media. That's one of the
People really leave their tracks on
yes.
social media.
Yeah.
Oh my
we didn't
goodness.
have. I didn't have any social media going through the process.
And so, but we are more forgiving now, if people are honest. Are we forgiving about dishonesty if they lie about their background
They can come back and apply again.
and try to do it right?
Yes.
Yeah, you got to do it right.
What do you remember? What were you also 14 years ago? Or?
15.
Mhm.
We're one class apart. It was straightforward. It was direct. Now, remember, there was thousands of applicants back when we applied. Now you're talking 200, 100.
Wow. So you're saying that it went down 90%?
Oh, yeah. It went way down. So now it's like, okay, when we're saying you're a little bit more forgiving now, or it's we don't have as many people that want to do the job. So we're looking at who we have, and we're obviously trying to make sure we hire the best people for the job. But it's not like there's a wrapped line of people around the building saying, hire me.
And why have you been successful in hiring more New Haven people and more applicants who are black and brown? I've noticed the numbers have increased quite a bit, and more women. Is that just society has changed, or have you had some strategy that made that work? You're going to different places you used to go.
I think it's just face-to-face communicating, being open, being honest, because the biggest thing I think is you have to have a resource. A lot of times if you don't have a resource to find out what it's really like to be a police officer, then you're just left kind of wondering. So when you create the opportunities for resources for them to find out information, then they get the truth, and then they feel comfortable, and then they're saying, hey, maybe I'll give it a shot. And then all it takes is a couple people from New Haven to do it, and then now they see that their high school classmates.
Well, it used to be even like a family. There was one town in South Carolina where the Pontoon family came from, and Mel Waring's family, and they were all related, and 12 of them were on the force because you told your family. Are you saying that once you can break through to more people, then their social circles and family circles can provide new people?
Oh, absolutely. At the most recent graduation, we had a lot of cheers for a New Haven recruit that graduated, Brandon Bright. But his father was a police officer too, and he's from the community. He knows a lot of people in the community. He works in the schools, and then it trickles down from there to where it's like, okay, Brandon did it, who's next? So and then they have that resource now of Brandon to where they can go to him, and now they can say, hey, what it's like, how was the process? So that way all their questions can be answered.
And do we have any numbers on your hand about how the breakdown of who's become a cop in recent years, classes or anything like that? If not, we'll get them because I know they release them.
Yeah, I can get them to you.
Okay. And let me ask you, now you've been doing this, Lena, how many years, background checks?
Quite a few.
Do you, excuse me?
About 5 years altogether.
Do you miss being out on patrol?
Sometimes I do.
But you do extra hours, right? Everyone's enlisted into overtime. I've seen you out on the street sometimes.
That's probably recruiting.
Oh, okay. Do you miss being on the beat, or you kind of like this better?
A little bit. I do miss it a little bit. But I think that part of my career is kind of done and over with.
And you took what you
Hopefully.
learned from it to do this.
Of course.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
How about you, Paul?
Yeah, I'd say the biggest thing I miss is being an FTO.
Field training officer.
Oh, I love that. And just being a sergeant in patrol was great because you weren't only interacting with the community, but you were interacting with the officers, the younger officers, and that was something that's enjoyable. But you kind of just continue in your career and move on to different things and try to just have an impact in the police department, in whatever's next in your career.
So give me the 10-second pitch. I just ran into you. I came out of Walgreens. I got my hefty bags. And, there's Paul. What are you out there doing for cops? Why should I become a cop?
Oh, do you want to be a police officer?
I don't know. Should I?
Yeah. Well, what do you do for work now?
I drive a truck.
Do you enjoy doing that?
Not really. They have me get up at like 3 a.m. It always breaks. Yeah.
How much money you make?
I make about $600 a week.
$600 a week. Okay. So I would give you our spiel. While you start in the academy, $50,000 a year.
Oh, I could use that.
After year 1, you jump up to $60,000, and then after year 2, it goes to $78,000. That's just showing up 40 hours a week. There's plenty of opportunity to make overtime, and then you have the opportunity. Would you ever want to be a detective? Would you ever want to be a canine officer? SWAT.
What about the mission? Like some people where I live, we don't think so great about the cops. Were the cops doing good things in New Haven, or are they the problem?
Well, absolutely, they're doing good things. That's what it's all about. Really, just building relationships with the community through community policing, and that's the bridge. Forging that bridge with the community, so that way they know they can trust you and lean on you. When they're at their toughest moments in their life.
You can help.
Yes, absolutely. That's
so how do
goal.
people sign up to apply to the New Haven Police Department?
Policeapp.com. That's the application website where you can go to apply. Apply at any time. You can move in from Florida and apply right away on policeapp.com.
All right. Any other final words from you?
Yes. One of the things we recommend all our applicants to do is a ride-along.
And can you do that as an applicant?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
You can go in a car with someone. Have you guys done those ride-alongs?
We don't participate.
Okay.
But the patrol officers do.
And then you get a taste of what you're applying for.
Correct.
That's a great idea. All right. Well, thanks so much for taking the time out, Sergeant Paul Finch and Officer Elena Borisova. And everyone, if you go to policeapp.com, you can be in the running for one of the 83 vacancies out of how many? What's our sworn force? Was it 4 something?
412, I believe.
Okay. New Haven Police Department. Thanks for all the great work you do, and thanks for coming on the air. Thanks to Harry Droz at the controls. We're going to take it out with the Afro-Semitic Experience performing I Wish I Knew How It'd Feel to Be Free from the group CD, A Plea for Peace. This is Paul Bass inviting you to fly free with us all day and all night long at WNHH, New Haven's home for community radio.